What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 31 of Spoiler Alert. I'm ChanManV, and joining me today is, of course, Ello and Eat My Addiction. What's up, guys?
Hello.
Hi.
I'm drinking a beer.
Drinking a beer. Holy shit!
Yeah,
dude.
I
This
just
is
woke up and I
early.
was like, you know what, man? I
Wow.
want a beer. I want a delicious, disgusting Bud Light.
Wow.
Oh my god. Well,
Wow.
listen, like my friends all come over and what they drink is Bud Light, and to like my disgust. But we'll buy like a 24 pack, and then they'll come over and drink like 18 of them. So there'll be 6 left. So they'll just be sitting in my fridge for months and months and months. So it's like my duty to drink them, to get them out of the way so Corey can buy groceries. So like, yeah. So I just kind of like grab one every now and then and just kind of work through them. It's a life.
It's a life.
It's a life.
Waking up
It's
and
a
working
living.
through my
It's
Bud
a
Light.
living. It's a living.
Oh, the rough life of being a man.
Exactly. Well, welcome back, Burke. Since BurkeBlack, obviously, from last time we did, or our last episode. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, Bucko?
You mentioned
How you
American
doing?
Gods, and,
Yeah.
and Burke was like,
I won't
I'm
do it.
back. I will do it. I'm coming back. I was like, all right.
Why do
you know?
people hold on? Why are people in your chat fucking idiots and don't know what a neckbeard actually is? I gotta say, this happens every stream. Like, oh, there's a neckbeard. You know what a fucking neckbeard is? It's where the beard is literally only on your neck and it stops right here on your chin. These are full beards.
I'm
I'm
sorry.
sorry,
Who
neck
are they
beard,
calling a
This
neck
is
beard?
a
I feel
neck
like
beard. It's me, guys. It's me. That's who they're talking
I,
about.
I feel like my community would understand beards better than anyone's. Like,
If it
why?
goes all the way around and it's
Oh,
also
man.
on your like cheek a little bit, that's a full beard. That's how it works.
Just a little bit.
I think
Just a little.
Dixon, are you trying to convince them or you?
Damn, I know I've got a full beard. It goes all the way around.
It sounds like a
man.
complex. It sounds like it's deep rooted.
Hey, you know what else?
Childhood.
You know what else Dixon's gonna
Get
have?
educated on facial hair, you fucking moron. That's all I'm saying. Go to Supercuts, they'll tell you.
Oh my god!
You've been instructed to go to Supercuts
for your
by Eat My
beard
Addiction.
maintenance. Oh my goodness!
Diction, you're gonna have something else today. You're gonna have a
I'm
new
gonna get
tat.
tattoo.
A new
Tattoo.
tatty
Oh,
tan.
that's right. Yeah, you got that. Yeah, that's right. What are you gonna get?
That's why we're starting early
I know. We're
because
getting-
yeah.
I'm getting St. Jude, the patron saint of
Oh, really?
Because I've been working with them for like 3 years now, and I figured.
Oh,
Well, it's
that's
like last
awesome.
year we blasted past our goal like super soon. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna get a tattoo then, and it took me almost a year to schedule it, and then it took like 3 more months for them to. Like they're like, okay, we have the opening on July 13th. I'm like, okay, and I scheduled it back in like March or something.
What what's I about to say? Is that when we first met?
That's when we first me and you and that's the first time I met you and Co.
Yeah, I
Duck
believe
Sauce,
that was the
too.
very first year that they did it. That's when like
Yeah.
Renee and Max, and that's when I met all 3 of you guys. You guys were
Yeah.
like 3 amigos. I remember that. Yep. So yeah, St. Jude is actually I worked with Guardian Con and the Destiny guys this month. And I
Mhm.
also helped Panzer out, if you guys know Trade Chat.
Mhm.
I helped her
Yeah.
out too. But they ended up raising like a freaking $1 million. They raised over $1
1.2
million.
It was freaking
Yeah,
crazy.
1.2 million.
Crazy.
Which is like, what does
Crazy.
SGQ do? I mean, don't they usually
They
do like
do-
$1 million or 2?
Yeah,
They
at the
do
end. by the end.
Doctors Without Borders and this year, but they beat their all-time record. I think.
And what
Like
was it?
1.7.
1.7. So imagine
huge.
like how big SGDQ is and how many like people
That's
go into that
huge,
speed
yeah,
running and all that
right.
stuff.
Yeah.
To have like just the Destiny
I know,
community
that's
pick up and make
crazy.
1.2, that is insane.
That,
is
that
fucking
really
insane.
is insane. That was amazing. When I remember tuning into it, I was just like, "Holy crap, this is huge!" You know,
And it's
just
fun
like
to
the
watch,
bromance-
too.
the
It's
just
bromance
really fun
stream
to
was
watch.
Crazy, man. Yeah, that was.
Yeah, 150,000 in Bromance Stream.
Yeah,
in like
that was
4 hours,
nuts.
right? Like all he was
Yeah.
doing was reading off fucking messages. I made
Oh,
2,000
man,
in my
that's the
blog.
life.
It was
All
like
right.
Jesus Christ.
Well, all right. Why don't we
Yeah.
talk about what we're gonna do this week? And those of you wondering what we do on Spoiler Alerts, we pick a movie, a TV show, a comic, anime, whatever, and we just dig into it, go deep, analyzing just everything we liked and didn't like about it.
Go
and
balls deep.
Go balls deep, exactly. This week we're doing American Gods, the Starz series. Season 1 of it, just ended maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago. So figured it was a good time, or maybe gave you guys enough time to watch it. It's only 8 episodes, so it wasn't too bad. But man, outside of Legion, it was like 8 of the most fucked up episodes I've ever watched.
Yeah.
Exactly. It took
I still
me.
haven't seen Legion, so
Oh really? Legion doesn't. It's like the first half is crazy fucked up, and then
It
the
starts to
second
make
half,
more
it's like,
sense as
yeah.
the season goes on.
Yeah.
but, it's just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Legion's supposed to be like that. Like,
I mean,
it's
it's literally about people that are insane, and it's from their perspectives. So the narrative is like structured completely wacky and weird, and
Right.
goes inside people's brains and stuff, and their memories, and remixes them.
Legion's more of an acid trip than this is, but this was just this is pretty messed up in the first couple episodes too. I had to like really normalize myself before I could figure out what the heck we were even talking about here. But yeah, so where should we start, guys?
I don't know. I'm just gonna start out with a statement. I feel like this is a good show, but I feel like the average person is gonna have a hard time with it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like the average person will have a hard time digesting this kind of show. And I don't think it's necessarily the content, it's just the story structure.
Yeah,
I think that
it
a lot
doles
is
out
withheld.
information mostly visually instead of like with
vocally,
just out
somatically
saying shit.
Yeah. It's strange because it's got kind of like if you guys remember Lost, it's got kind of that Lost mystique to it, where there's like a lot of unanswered questions, but it's, for some reason, I feel more confused about it than I do Lost, which is weird. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a bad thing to be confused, because with confusion comes intrigue, right? I'm intrigued by what I'm seeing. I like what I'm seeing. I just don't know if I'm following like 100% or even maybe 90%.
The easiest cheat to figure out what the backstory is are 2 scenes. The very first scene with the Vikings coming to the New World and bringing and they can't get off the island or the continent, right? So they're trying to pray to Odin for wind for their sails. That's a big hint. And then I think it's like episode 4 with the slaves, and then their god is like talking to them about like what they're going to endure when they come to the New World and stuff. Those are the 2 biggest things. So that the idea behind the novel was essentially like America is a country of immigrants, right? Like it was founded from immigration, aside from Native Americans who were, like lived here for eons. And so when people immigrated to America, they brought their religions with them, they brought their gods with them. And in the story, they actually have physical manifestations. And so over the course of time, all these gods are living in America along with the people that brought them there spiritually. And then they start to get more and more forgotten as technology and media and all this. These newer gods or the things we worship start taking over. And so that's like the general mystique of the entire story is these gods that do live among us, but we've forgotten or we've abandoned for other things, for material possessions and stuff like that.
And I love the new gods that rise, it's like the god of TV, the god of digital,
exactly.
Dude, Gillian Anderson as David Bowie is like the fucking greatest thing ever. I was so cool.
Yeah.
Dude, Gillian Anderson's amazing in the 2 episodes that she's in. But
and Boogie Nights.
Well, and X-Files.
It wasn't in Boogie Nights.
Sorry, I'm thinking of what's her name? Gillian. What's her name? I forget.
Julianne Moore.
Oh, was that
Julianne
what?
Moore, yeah.
It was the god of TV was the X-Files girl?
Yeah, it was.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even notice that.
Yeah, it took me a second too. It took me a second to
didn't know
realize
that?
it's her.
Yeah, because she always looks like somebody from TV or whatever.
Well, she's like Marilyn Monroe, and she was
Lucille
I Love
Ball.
Lucy.
Yeah.
So that was pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, I am right there with you, Ello, in terms of it. We didn't have the show last week just because I didn't get a chance to watch it in time, and I had this feeling of, I know this is a good, I know this is actually good. The series is good, but I'm really having a hard time with how it's ordered, and like, you know, from episode to episode, I was having trouble like following exactly what they were trying to do, because there was a moment where I felt like every episode was going to start with some kind of historical thing, right? Whether it's the Vikings or it was the slaves or something like that, and it was going to really establish the vision that way.
It's not Anubis. It's his brother who's like the morticians. He like sits down and he starts writing about the history of like whenever he gets fired too.
So I thought they were going to start stylistically that way every single episode, but then they didn't. You know, then they stopped. So it kind of threw me for a loop. I mean, by the end, of course, I have a much clearer idea of what's going on plot wise and who everybody is. You know, obviously by the end, you know who everybody is, but. You know, it was definitely hard to, again, normalize and figure out, okay, what is this? You know, like even getting into a position where I'm even trying to guess, you know, it was kind of weird. I've got like these women, you know, sucking people into their vaginas and shit. I'm just like, what the hell is going on? You know?
What a strange, well, it's funny because like I consider myself to be, you know, not like some kind of scholar or something, but somebody who has a real interest in mythology and legend.
Yeah, me too.
Especially when it comes to Greek, you know, Roman gods and goddesses and stuff like that. I'm really been into that. So when he said to call him Wednesday, I immediately figured it was Odin. Like because in the days of the week, Wednesday, I mean, you can go look up in Wikipedia, probably it'll tell you that like it was a day named after Odin or Woden, I think it was what it was, from like the Germans, and it was also a day for Mercury. So I thought he's either Mercury or he's going to be Odin. But then when Raven popped out, I was like, okay, it's definitely Odin.
Yeah, the Raven gave away real fast.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah,
and his eyes are messed up too.
The glass eye is also a pretty big hint.
Yeah, but Ian McShane, holy shit!
Dude.
It's like watching. Oh my. Okay, hold on.
It's one of the best there is.
For a second, like Deadwood. All right, how many of you guys saw Deadwood?
Oh hell yes!
I haven't seen.
Okay,
I never watched Deadwood.
Oh my god, guys!
I have it on Blu-ray. I haven't watched it yet.
You have it on Blu-ray? You've never watched it, dude?
That was one of the best series ever, man.
It got canceled, so I'm like, when I know a show's
it doesn't
but
matter.
it's one of those shows that's okay that it got canceled. Like, you know, even though it got canceled, it still told an epic storyline from start to finish. And they are wrapping up the storyline with a movie.
There's never a better time to watch it than now, especially with Ian McShane being in this. But like, there's a character that he plays in Deadwood, and I never see it. He's so good at the character that I never see him as I never see him as Ian McShane. I always see him as Al Swearingen. So Al Swearingen in Game of Thrones, you know, season 6 or whatever we just watched. Like, that wasn't Ian McShane, that was Al Swearingen. You know, like, so just seeing his character.
The only thing that's missing is the word cocksucker. You know.
Yeah, so what I was gonna say was, in this, it's like kind of the closest you get to Al Swearingen without being Al Swearingen, and what that is like an incredibly well-crafted character by an incredibly talented actor. And I feel like Ian McShane comes into his own in the show, but never like Deadwood. But this is as close as he comes, and I feel like he's amazing. Like I'm excited to see him doing well. Yeah,
he just chews the scenery every time he's on screen, man.
He was in that Hercules movie too. Remember that when he was playing Hercules' mentor?
He was like the only character in that I cared about because he was always trying to die victoriously.
Yeah.
Well, he was in what you call it too briefly. John Wick.
Yeah.
He was good in John Wick too.
Yeah.
He was good in John Wick. I think he's gonna play a big role in John Wick 3, but like he was like the only character in the Hercules movie that was like the serious actor of the group. It's like
everyone else was just kind of like, oh, whatever.
The action heroes.
I have to say, like at one point before I did, realize it was Odin, I thought he was the devil, at certain points, or at least near the beginning, and it reminded me of just like Al Pacino.
I mean, Odin's definitely a trickster. He's not a fun god to believe in. He will fuck with you, and he's the god. He's a god of war and mischievousness and stuff. So that's why everyone's always, whenever they talk about him, they're just like, oh, don't trust him. Don't trust him. He's gonna fuck you over.
I had visions of him as in Al Pacino in What was that Al Pacino movie that had Keanu Reeves in it? Like, a
Oh,
long time ago?
Devil's Advocate.
Yeah,
Devil's
Devil's Advocate. Yeah. I had
that was a
visions
good
of that briefly, at least in the first
Coming
episode or
out.
two.
Doing it our way. You know?
Yeah, it's interesting the way they choose to portray him, because when you think about Odin traditionally, you really got to kind of go more on the war side of things. And it's
Yeah,
interesting
that's
because it feels like a watered down Odin that's having to really scrape by because he wants the war, right? He wants to battle these new gods, but he doesn't necessarily have like the assets or the resources.
Yeah,
so what we're
that's the
seeing
whole like
is, like, a
concept of like
manifestation. Yeah.
yeah.
I feel like he's done something though. You know what I mean?
The leprechaun's like homeless, like a drifter. You know, like the only reason
Yeah.
he's still
Yeah.
out there is because he has this lucky coin that keeps him alive, essentially. Like, and then the whole thing with Bilquist, where she was like, after people stop believing in her, like her the way she keeps going is by, you know, like absorbing life and being worshipped and loved. Like that's what keeps her alive. And so she gets like despondent and homeless and stuff until the tech boy gives her the cell phone so she can use Tinder to get fucking dudes. To fuck her.
That's right.
I love it. That was in
That's
the book too. That was like my
hilarious.
favorite part. Like, cause I was trying to understand like who is this character? What is she doing? And then they give her backstory. It's like, oh, that's fucked up, dude. Like she has no choice but to worship the new gods now because that's the only way she's gonna like keep going. Like that's so fucking. Oh,
Yeah,
man.
I never read the book, so I just base it purely off the series. But like, you know, Odin comes off like he's really got something behind the books that you don't know about. Like that entire series. Yes, he's going around gathering the other gods, but there's something else that he has that's giving him the balls to go out there and take on the new gods. And it's not just, you know, collecting these other gods with him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a master plan for sure.
Yeah, he's got something else going on.
It's like I said, it emphasizes his trickster qualities, you know, and that he's manipulating people and moving the chess pieces across the board. But I feel like, yeah, he wouldn't have attempted the game, to continue the analogy, if he hadn't had some kind of something in his pocket, an ace in his pocket. But I think that's what Shadow is in a large part.
Yeah,
is his ace in the pocket. But it's like, what is
What
Shadow?
is Shadow?
Why
Yeah, that's
Shadow?
the big question.
Yeah, like
right?
why Shadow? What is Shadow?
They're
What?
probably going to get to that in season 2, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, have you
I
reached?
think
that
I've
part?
reached that part in the book, but I'm not entirely. I got to go back and like read a couple pages.
It's
again.
such a weird name, Shadow Moon. Like it's like,
Shadow
come
Moon,
on,
yeah.
like it's right out of fucking.
It's got to be something, right? God. I mean,
He's
it's got-
important. Like he's
it's got-
definitely important. There's a reason he chose him specifically.
There's no
Yeah.
shadow moon in any mythology or deity context anywhere, is there? You figure there would be something.
The closest I can come up with is just off the top of my head is a well, they're a cat, really. They chose the cat form, but it's a black god that helped what's his name kill Medusa. I think her name is Cythrix or something like that, and they sometimes refer to her as the shadowed moon sometimes.
Oh, really?
But that's
Okay.
very regular. That's very irregular, and it's a female primarily, and I could probably find out more.
So
That's
not
off the top
him,
of my head.
basically.
Not him. I don't think so.
Yeah, no,
anyways.
he's definitely human, but there's something special about him.
Yeah, I mean, he
compared to
can,
other
because
humans.
that
I know
whole winter
much.
thing, right? Like he could actually change reality by concentrating on something, right?
Do you think
Perseus
he
can
actually
do
did
that.
that, or was that Odin intervening?
No, I think
I
that
think he did it. I think. Yeah.
Odin needed his help to do it because he wasn't powerful enough to change the weather on his own. So he needed like a conduit. Like he was a conduit for his powers or something.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think so. Yeah, that's what I'm. That's
Are you saying
interpretation.
like you think like he makes Odin powerful by being around him?
I think so. Yeah.
Oh,
Maybe.
Huh.
I mean, that's,
Well,
that's
the more
a good-
the more he believes it, like the whole point of casting Shadow is because, well, one, he's a good bodyguard, he's very intelligent, and he starts off as a non-believer because he gets out of prison and his fucking wife's dead, you know.
yeah.
And so the more he convinces Shadow that these gods are real, the more he believes, the more powerful they become.
Right. I mean, the whole power index is all about just belief, right? It's like the whole
Exactly.
Santa
yeah.
Claus thing, right? They even reference Saint Nick in there. It's kind of funny.
I love that scene, by the way. The last episode when the reveal happens and it's
Yeah.
all like storm and shadow, and he's like, "I'm
I am
Odin."
Odin.
I love all the Jesuses in that.
That was hilarious too.
That was, especially Jeremy Davies when he like realizes like that he's not the only Jesus.
He's feeling
like
bad.
sitting on the pool, just
Yeah.
like chilling, like really melancholy. I was like, that's the saddest Jesus I've ever seen in my entire life. Man.
Well, like it's funny because there's like different iterations of Jesus, right?
Yeah.
You know, so are there different iterations of Odin? Because there's like, you know, the Norwegian Odin, and there's also the German Odin.
There could be
there's different like like I said earlier, Woden instead of Odin. You know, the different
Yeah.
pronunciation.
there's the possibility that Odin Wednesday killed the other god. Like they can kill each other.
Yeah.
Well, he
Yeah.
kills
But-
Vulcan. He killed Vulcan, right? So he can definitely kill anybody with that sword at least.
I feel
But
like
wouldn't-
if there's two Odins walking around, they're gonna want to fucking murder each other. Like they want to be the one, you know,
So,
like,
yeah,
like
yeah.
Highlander status. Like,
So the you guys heard the one controversy I heard coming from the American Gods was Vulcan. Like some people said that he was different from the book, like he was more ingrained in like, you know, the American NRA and stuff like that, and they were trying to make a political statement more than anything else. What did you guys
but it
think of that?
fits. It totally fits, though.
It did
like,
fit.
Yeah,
the
no, I
character
thought it
really
was
well.
cool. I thought it was
Yeah.
really unique as to how they positioned him. How he, you know, obviously he was ostracized, right? Like Vulcan was. I think that what's the story, Ella? Like he was thrown from. I mean, he was definitely alienated in some way. I forget in mythology, right? So the way they position or the way they portrayed it as him just basically ruling this little town, right? Or he just would
like a little militia town.
exactly. He
In the
just
middle of nowhere.
gradually like get a few more followers, and then obviously, you know, used the guns and everything as a way to lure all these people or get people to follow him. That was actually really
You know what's
cool.
fucked up? That almost happened in real
Really?
life. There's a documentary called Welcome to Leaf, and it's fucked up. It's about this small town, and I think it's Wisconsin. Like it's got like maybe 100 people living there, and this
Wow.
dude moves in that like randomly buys a bunch of property, and these people start moving in, and they eventually realize that this dude's like a white nationalist, and what he's trying to do is take over the town. This really happened. He tried to take over the town with a bunch of racists to create like a utopia for racism. And like
Wow,
yeah, and then
okay.
they kept like they kept fighting all like because he kept trying to buy more property, and so they kept trying to change the laws on property ownership in the town, so he couldn't do it. And they're basically there's like they had like no help from the state government, and so this small town was trying to push out these racists. They eventually do, but like after like they started walking around with a cell phone and guns, just walking around threatening people and shit.
Right.
And they got it all on. Stupidly, they filmed themselves walking around with guns and stuff, and so they eventually got arrested and kicked out of town.
And then
But it's like that shit almost happened. Like that. That's
That doesn't
fucking
surprise
crazy.
me, man. It doesn't surprise
Yeah.
me in this day. And
See,
age.
I've never even heard of Vulcan before as a god.
It's
It's a
Hephaestus.
Roman god.
It's Hephaestus.
Yeah, it's Roman
the
god.
Same, it's the same dude. Hephaestus.
Hephaestus.
Same
Oh,
dude, yeah,
Hephaestus. Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
it's the same
Hephaestus.
guy.
Okay, yeah. Okay, gotcha. I was in,
Like every
That's
hand
one
is
thing.
a
It's like always.
volcano
reading
now.
I know,
Roman,
I
you
know.
It's
I've done the same
is
way,
it
dude.
Mars or is it Aries? You know,
I'm
it's all-
glad that they were doing like the Greek gods, you know, and the Norse gods, but then they were doing some of the more obscure ones that you never heard of, you know? I like that they were doing like more wide variety like that.
Neil Gaiman did his
That-
fucking
that-
research
he
for this
did.
from this
Yeah.
book. Like he
Well-
read up. I wanted to talk about this because it's not in the book, but I think it's episode 4, the one that focuses on the backstory of Laura and Shadow, how they met and like,
Mhm.
and then her aftermath of her like him going to prison. None of that was in the book. Laura actually plays a very small part in the book. She's only there in like
Oh,
flashbacks, and then
Really?
the scene where she
Wow.
comes back and she's waiting in the hotel for him. But like, yeah, so I like what they did with that. And my favorite part of that episode, I mean, the performance by I forget her name, the actress, but she's phenomenal.
She's
But,
in Limited Snickets.
Yes, yeah, she
oh,
was.
that's-
Yeah, back in
And
the
Sucker
day when she
Punch.
was like
She's in
young,
Sucker Punch. She's the
yeah.
main character in Sucker
Yeah.
Punch too. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my favorite part about it, and it was like a film school rejects did a good article about it, was that that episode depicts depression in the best way I've ever seen on like TV or movies. Because usually when they like when you have a character that's supposed to be depressed, they're just sad all the time. But with her, it's like as someone who suffered from depression, it's not so much sadness; it's just a lack of interest, you know,
Right,
like emptiness.
apathy, kind
And
of.
they
Yeah.
fucking nailed it. They nailed it. Like
Yeah.
when she's like
Sure.
talking to Shadow, and he's like, "Why aren't you happy?" She's like, "I'm just not. Like I'm just like I kind of am, and I kind of not. Like there's no explanation for it." I thought that was fucking like beautiful. Like and it's
yeah.
important to watch that episode, especially if you're depressed. It's like, oh shit, like okay, maybe I'm depressed, and maybe it's not as big of a deal as I'm making it out to be, and there are ways out of it. Like.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, I really dug
Something
that.
you
And the
live
whole
with.
shit with her being a zombie and her arm falling off and having to sew it back on.
That stuff was gold.
Yeah, it was
I mean, just that entire, that entire thread is like pretty hilarious and interesting. So why is she coming back? Like, so has she come back because she's found meaning, which is, Shadow?
Coin, I thought.
I think that's part of it.
I mean,
Well, I mean, does she has the whole backstory where there's a connection between them because of her ancestor or family member or something believing, or maybe
With the
even
leprechaun.
her believing in the leprechauns and always, showing them gratitude even, as time went on. And like, I mean, who really believes in fucking leprechauns? Like, I mean, in this day and age, when it comes to leprechauns, we're pretty much like, okay, it's a
great movie.
I'm still screwed up by those movies.
It's like,
dude. I'm still fucked up from those
cereal.
movies.
What a delicious cereal, the leprechauns today. No, but like back then, as education was waning and all that stuff, it's like there were people who actually believed in leprechauns and the Fey world and the Fey folk and stuff like that. So I think that part of her coming back has to do with her worship and dedication to the leprechauns.
Really?
So, like in the episode where, like I said, did that flashback, she kept leaving out the food for them or leaving out money for them. And
Even
there
when
was
she was
nothing
on this
that she
shit
ever
going
got
to
back.
America and like
and she
people are dying left
Yeah,
and
but
right. Like
then why did-
and not only that, but like even throughout all her trials and tribulations, it didn't matter what happened to her. She always, even when good things or bad things happened to her, she always left something out. It wasn't about like prayer, like today prayer is such a like selfish thing. Like you pray when you need something, or you pray when you want something, or that kind of thing. She was just she with faith stayed consistent and stayed faithful to the leprechauns and showing the Fey world that she was going to give them tribute, and so vis-a-vis, that's why we see in the scene where he has an out. He has a way to leave when she gets in the car crash. Remember when they're in the ice cream truck and she crashes it and she spills open and she's, all undone and her coin rolls out. He says, and he walks up and he puts it back into her.
Yeah.
I feel like he's got some sort of obligation to her, but also he's helping Odin. Obviously he's teamed up with Wednesday in some way. So I think there's multiple reasons why she's kept around and why she's still alive. And she has kind of added her own reasons to it, obviously, to get back to Shadow. And I think there's maybe even a bigger, picture thing there.
That's definitely a really cool explanation of it. And I think that's probably where they're going with it. The only thing that I don't understand then is because he killed her. Like the leprechaun actually killed her, and it was pure luck that the coin ended up in her body. So, and it wasn't because of him. If all of that backstory was consistent, then he would have been the one rescuing her, right, on purpose.
Yes,
like, it wouldn't have been an accident.
And I get that logic, but think about this: he's sort of beholden to his coin. If his coin brings her back, he knows the coin has a reason, right? So he is a homeless god who has no believers, anything like that. Like Diction said, all he has is his coin now, right? So when his coin abandons him, and then goes to her,
I see what you mean.
He's got to go, okay, she must be important, or there must be something about her if my coin's going to leave me, the fucking leprechaun that's been giving me power, and then go to her. And what I think maybe there's a possibility, there's clues, right? Like Shadow being it is going to probably bring her back to life. She can't stay as a dead wife, as
dead wife.
Puts it. I love that, by the way. But anyways, she's not gonna be, so he's got some kind of life-giving ability, because I feel like that's why she's drawn to him. When she kisses him, she says she felt alive for the first time. So like she breathed,
and her heart
her
kicked
heart
on
beat
too.
her heart kicked in. So there's gonna be this like bigger picture thing where she is given this coin to stay alive, to get life from him, and in the process, the leprechaun, I think, is just hoping maybe he'll get something out of it. I think the thing that he's so frustrated about is he's a follower right now, and he has to be, because his coin is dictating what he's doing in some of his actions. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
he's an awesome character too. He's an awesome character.
Yeah.
He's fun.
Oh
Can't wait
yeah,
for more of his scenes. You know what I mean?
He's probably my favorite character in the whole goddamn show.
Yeah,
And it's crazy to see
that.
him coming from Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, I know.
As
He looks completely different.
Porn stash.
Porn
Yeah.
stash.
Like, he really flexes his acting ability in this.
No,
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
does.
he's really good. The beard looks a little weird sometimes on him. It looks a little too orangish, but that's my biggest complaint. That's my nitpicky Ellohime.
I mean, he's a leprechaun, so he's probably got oranger hair than most Irish people.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask you guys a question because
He's got a train spotting feel to him too. What was that?
it's something I never quite picked up on, or I must have missed it or something. Who is the guy with the hammer? With the bloody hammer?
Oh, it's a Russian god.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
Russian.
the guy that played
forget
chess.
his
Yeah,
name.
checkers. Yeah.
Yeah.
It starts with a C, like Krasnog or something like that.
So he's a god too, right?
Yeah, he's
Okay,
like the
yeah.
Russian god of war, kind of.
Oh.
He's more of a destruction chaos kind of person, if I remember
Mhm.
correctly. Let me look it up real quick.
Not Hades or anything.
Zernaborg, yeah.
Xenoborg.
Thank you,
okay.
stupid.
Zernaborg.
Thank you,
Yeah.
stupid.
Like the god of
His
death.
name's
or
stupid.
something?
I'm reading in the chat. Stupid. Yeah, that was. I mean, when I read that, like, it was awesome reading the book, and then just trying to picture, because I didn't know who the full cast was, but I didn't know who was going to play Wednesday. So when I was reading the book, I would just picture Ian McShane as Wednesday.
Mhm.
But then when they did that episode with fucking Peter Stormare, I was like, I could not picture anyone better for this fucking part.
Yeah,
Like,
there
that
he is.
So voice casting for him.
Well,
He's so
why the
good.
hell? So so the Russian god of death is just hanging out with the oracles. Is that what he's doing?
He's interpreted as a dark, accursed god. Is basically how it's described on Wikipedia, by the way. So
Oh, okay.
he's not necessarily like a god of war. He's just an evil god, I guess, is
okay.
more of the thing.
Okay.
So
And he's
if
loving
war
it,
is part of
loving it
it,
with the oracles because they're all poor and
Right.
struggling, so they have to kind of stick together, I guess.
and it's weird because
Who else
his
is
name
gonna make him
kinda-
borscht, you know?
I
his
got
name is
them
turned
right,
into
right?
Chernogog-
That's the oracles
Chernogog.
from Greek mythology, right? The
Yeah.
throne
Yeah.
and the
I think
maiden
so.
and the
Well, no, the one of them's Russian because she's got a Russian accent. The girl that like plucks the moon from the sky, I forget who she is.
Yeah, I didn't know who
Exactly.
any of those people were.
Yeah,
I
like the
remember
telescope
watching that
girl, yeah.
episode. I remember watching that episode and going like, I should look that up, and then I didn't look it up. And I
Came
who
off
she
as
was
the oracles to me. They're like
and
Greek
also-
mythology.
That's what I
Yeah.
thought it was too, Burke. Yeah, I thought it was just the
Like the
Greek mythology
Spartan Oracle?
Yeah, and then I mean they might speak different languages now, but I interpret it as the same group of women.
Yeah,
the
so
virgins and things.
yeah, exactly. They
Yeah,
really
they're-
come off as the
they're
oracle.
in chat. They're Slavic. They're Slavic.
Yeah.
What do
Okay.
you call it? They're like gypsies worship them, I think.
I
Okay.
believe gypsy is offensive these days, sir. I believe you mean travelers.
Travelers, nomads, travelers. Exactly. Okay,
Yeah.
we have to talk about the whole gin thing and that.
Oh my
whole
god,
crazy
that scene
gay
is so
scene.
good.
That gay
The
scene.
most
Oh.
elaborate scene.
Yeah, gay
sex
sex scene
ever.
was crazy.
That is the biggest dick that's ever been on television.
I know.
That was
Biggest
fucking
fire
awesome.
dick.
Fired.
Yeah.
All right.
But
so
I read
what?
that was a whole chapter on it in the book. That was just a separate chapter, and like I don't know if that character who became the djinn or the dude that was fucked by the djinn. I don't think he comes back, or he hasn't come back yet. So I like that they put him in the story in the overarching like
But
narrative later
he's
on.
looking for the gin though. You know. So
Yeah,
I don't,
yeah.
What? So I like explain that
wouldn't
to me,
you?
guys.
I mean,
I
come
don't
on,
even.
man, you know?
Yeah.
I don't understand
Fucking
what
oh,
happened
man.
Sex of
there.
his life.
Come
Yeah,
on.
he had the
I-
best sex of his life, and he wants it again.
I'm gonna be searching the
obviously.
world for that man. Yeah.
1 second I was getting banged in the ass, the next I'm floating in space. like, what the fuck?
Looking for a buffalo too.
Universally ass
Like,
banged,
oh my
man.
God.
Like that was awesome. Where's that fucking Afridi, man? Where's he at, dude?
Oh my
I'm sober now, but I remember that shit. Listen, like I've never. It was an interesting
Oh,
thing because I've
man.
never seen gay sex portrayed in the same light that heterosexual
Yeah. I agree.
intercourse
Oh, yeah,
is
yeah, yeah,
in
that's
film. Like usually if you see a gay sex scene that's like romantic or romanticized in film, it's usually made by the homosexual community. Like made by gays for gays kind of movie.
Yeah.
The co-creator Brian Fuller is gay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
he
And
probably
that's
had a hand in like making sure
exactly,
they
but
did
it's
justice.
the most like I hate to use the word normalizing, but I've always felt like there's this weird stigma when it comes to film you know, if it's a man and a woman, they'll do a whole elaborate, you know, sex scene, and it'll be, you know, oh, beautiful,
Well, it's
or
like
blah, blah,
tender.
blah, or like,
There'll be
you know,
some
or like a
tenderness to it.
tender,
Yeah,
or the, you know, it'll
exactly.
stick around for a while. Like you'll have a scene, like
Yeah.
it'll show the fucking sex, you know.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to homosexuality, you so very rarely do you ever see the actual intercourse or a romantic
Unless it's
scene,
like
or
a
romanticized
lesbian
film.
sex scene,
No,
which they
it-
love.
Unless
Yeah.
it's like
Or
the
it's
L
a-
word had a bunch of. It does exist. It
Or
does
it's
exist.
overly
I'm just saying
aggressive.
it's not often.
You know, overly aggressive.
It's
or
not in like
forced,
not
it's
in
that
like
sort of
fucking
thing.
big pictures, but there's a lot of
Yeah.
like indie movies that do like Weekend was a really good movie about these two gay dudes in England that like just spend a weekend together and they fall in love, and it's really romantic and really cool.
Yeah,
But yeah, I agree. Like it's not, you don't see that shit in a lot of especially TV, unless it's like well, they had there's Looking on HBO, which is about a bunch of gay dudes in San Francisco who hook up and stuff. And then there was a Queer as Folk long time ago.
yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
I remember
Like,
that
I'm not
show,
saying
yeah.
they don't
Yeah.
exist. I'm just saying that it's not at the same level as heterosexuality, and for, you know, a lot of reasons. But the thing is that it was nice to see what I consider to be like what would be like a normal heterosexual sex scene between two dudes in a homosexual way, which was awesome because it just showed it was just the same fucking layout like
Just
we
a sex
normally
scene.
see, just
Yeah.
two dudes. Now, then
Well,
they
even
did-
more so because don't they go inside where you see the
Yeah, well, I mean, now then they went. Yeah, that's what I was gonna
I
say.
got crazy with this one.
That's what I was gonna say. Is like then we
It
got
just
to
kept
like.
going on.
It's like if
and
you were
on.
uncomfortable about this at any point in time, you just got more and more uncomfortable. I can
Yeah.
just imagine somebody that's like not into it going,
Yeah.
I've seen too much.
I was gonna recommend my parents watch it, but then that scene happened. And I was like, I don't know if my mom's just kind of a squeamish person. I feel like this would be a little too much for her. Like she's not homophobic or anything, but I feel like this is just a little too much for my mom to handle.
Right. Right.
I've seen too much hentai to be bothered by a little infrared. It's like it literally went from like normal, you know, like I said, like a normalized sex scene in film to like hentai,
Outer
what was it?
space.
Yeah, outer space into what's it when you're mapping the heat signatures, infrared. Infrared like shows the blast inside. Like, we are really getting into hentai territory now, but I love it. I'm like, yeah, man, more infrared gay sex scenes. Throw them out there. Have
He's
fun.
seated. He's seated with the djinn now. I mean, so I thought he was gonna become a djinn because after
yeah,
that.
I did too. I
So-
thought
Maybe.
Yeah, now
It's
he's
weird when
looking
it comes
for
to
the djinn.
genies.
Yeah.
It's weird when it comes to genies and jinns and blah blah blah. Like there's a whole there's like different cultures that go back in the history of them. They're all, you know, sometimes they're in lamps, sometimes they're not. Sometimes they
Was
grant
this
3
asshole
wishes,
the lamp?
sometimes 100. Yeah, it's like, but like
Rub
that's the
it.
thing is like
Ru-
is reincarnation part
You're gonna rub
of,
his ass to get the gene to pop out.
well, there's a spot in the ass that you have to
There's
rub.
a
Wait,
spot.
no, close enough.
It's
Close
the
enough,
J
Dixie.
spot,
It's
not
called
the
a
G
genie
spot. It's the J spot.
he was rubbing something else here.
Anyways, but like the
Oh my
mythology of genies is actually sort of all over the place. And I've never heard of anything like a reincarnating or like an impregnating to become the next or anything like that.
Mhm.
That's more of like a phoenix kind of thing, you know, like dies and reborns, you know, kind of thing. But like, I don't know. I've never really heard of I'm not doubting that that's part of the mythology, but is that the idea is that he is like going to be the next Jin or
I didn't
is
get
But
that
he's
that
the
looking
impression
for
impression
at
at
him.
all?
But he's looking
He's
for
looking-
him.
yeah,
now.
he's-
But
So-
isn't the
for him
gin
again, so
working
that's
for
weird.
Wednesday though too? Wasn't he at the bar?
No, I don't think so.
Are you sure? Because I thought we saw him before that scene. We saw
If you
him leaving
did,
the
that'd be
bar.
interesting because I don't remember
No,
that.
that doesn't make sense because he's in New York as a cab
Really?
driver.
Hmm.
They were in fucking Michigan in the bar scene.
Oh,
I think it was Michigan or somewhere in the Northwest.
I mean,
Burke, look it up.
there are multiple. I mean, he's not the only Jin. I mean, there are multiple.
That's true.
Jins
Yeah,
as
they're
well,
not like just
so-
one. He's not like Wednesday, who's just one guy.
I thought
you
I
know, like
saw
they're-
that dude with the shades, and he was leaving the bar as Shadowman was coming in.
Oh, really?
And that's where I think you saw him the first
All right,
time.
I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna look it up right. We got Google. We got the power of the
Yeah, we
internet.
got Google. I think there's a wiki for this show and the book in general too.
Oh, that's right.
Let's
Jin
see.
spelled with a D. I totally forgot.
Yeah,
about
it's still
that.
the D. You said
DJINN.
It's the D
Yeah.
spot. Yeah.
I didn't want to call you out on it, but
It's
I
a
was like,
D
yeah,
spot,
whatever.
yeah.
I was just waiting for him to be like Prince Ali, wonderful we, I was waiting for that, but that never happened.
Aladdin gave me my freedom long ago. Now I
Oh, they had
New
that
York.
moment. Berkey just missed that.
Yeah.
He was Aladdin for him there. Oh man.
Oh, well,
What?
it does pop up. There's like a lot to read here, but it does pop up with him in glasses and a suit.
Yeah. That's where
Okay.
I saw him. Like I
Oh,
saw
I
him
missed that
before
one.
that scene as a taxi driver.
People are saying he was in the diner. Which diner though?
The diner
Was it the-
or somewhere.
It was
Before
an
they,
early
before they
diner.
robbed the bank or whatever.
Was that where the leprechaun flipped the coins and all that stuff, or was that a different?
No,
diner?
that's the dinosaur bar. That's in the first episode.
Okay.
He wasn't there. He wasn't in that scene.
I can't remember. There was a lot going on.
I just
There's a
know
lot
that
of
I saw
information
him-
to
Yeah.
digest.
I saw him before he met the other guy in New York. So I know he was in there before. And it had something to do with Wednesday, but they never acknowledged it. Like it wasn't like they even looked at each other. It's like Shadow passed him while they were walking by, which alludes to the fact that, that this guy is somehow has a connection with Wednesday as well.
Well, I feel like any god or deity or creature of power that no longer has that power is gonna side with Odin, with Wednesday, right?
Yeah, I mean,
So
Yeah.
I feel like they all have a vested interest in helping him because they want to be back on top. So like
Yeah.
us following the Egyptian woman, I feel like she's gonna be on
She's
his
hugely
side.
important because
And-
they pretty much
Anubis?
set her up.
Yeah.
They
And
set her
what I
up in like the entire first season, but they never really did anything with her. You know what I mean? Like she was just she's
And
being
that's
set up
why-
for something huge.
Yeah, and that's what I think it is him accumulating all of these smaller powers together to create, to get that power balance. And then once he has that power balance, he's using that to kind of up the tier of God he recruits. So he goes to the Easter lady, who is not necessarily powerful, but powerful enough. People still celebrate Easter once a year.
She's
Give him a
powerful,
pass.
dude.
Yeah,
She can
but
solve the world.
Still is
I know, but what I'm
technically-
saying is she's not on the level of technology and those other people. So that's where Odin goes to recruit like the next step. Okay, now I've got all these gods together, these lower tier gods, and I've got some power now. I'm accumulating some numbers. Now I can go to this person and say, hey, this isn't a risky gambit anymore. I've got all this support, and we've got the
Yeah.
Shadow Moon guy, whatever.
Well, I think
He-
Shadow's
the
like
scenery,
the
yeah.
energy source for all of this. Like, because all these gods, they don't have any believers anymore, so their powers are low right now. And I think Shadow
Yeah.
might be that one believer, that
A
huge battery, basically, for all of these gods to rise to power, or at least rise to be able to fight the new gods. So
Yeah.
I'm thinking
We
he might
should talk about that, by the
Yeah.
way. That was a significant moment at the end of the season when she stops spring, basically. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Oh yeah.
That's gonna be like
That was
on the
pretty cool.
news. It's gonna be on the media. That affects it. I don't know how much did it affect the entire world.
That's what
That's
the
what it made it look
impression-
like. Yeah.
Yeah, they zoomed out pretty far. If not that, then whatever state she's in, like definitely.
She's
for
pretty
sure.
damn powerful.
So I mean, if we
regardless.
saw that happen, obviously the new gods are gonna try to be like, oh, it's just some weird, climate change event, and not, no one's gonna say, oh, it was a god that was upset about it. But Odin wants them to pray to her to reverse it.
I don't know about
Well, and I
you.
think
That's a
that's what-
pretty powerful. She's powerful.
Yeah,
I mean,
she's
if you
powerful.
starve everybody, technology's gone too. I mean, people power stuff right now, right? Like, if people
Yeah.
die, then technology's nothing, right? So,
But it's like a gambit, right? Like, how long will you hold out? Will you really kill everybody else? Like, I feel like they're gonna hold out until the first person starts praying, right? And once it starts to catch on to start praying, that the
Yeah.
then will come back, and that will solidify that, hey, this has an effect, a cause and effect. You pray, food gets on the table, basically.
Mhm.
So that, of course, is going to work in Odin's favor as well. I'm really more interested in like all the network of gods that Odin actually has at his back, for this, quote unquote coming war. How extensive is it? And I have other questions too. Like, if he did kill Vulcan or, Hephaestus or whoever the fuck it was, is there another manifestation of that god that appears somewhere else? It's like, do you ever truly kill any of these gods, or do you just kill the person themselves and they manifest
in the book they say you can kill a god. If you kill the god is dead.
But does that mean that another person then inhabits the traits of that person and then steps into godhood?
I mean,
you understand what I'm saying?
No.
Like, do they get replaced?
It doesn't transfer power, but like there are gods that are similar in different, like, like you kill Hephaestus, but there's still Ares out there somewhere, the god of war, right? So
yeah, okay,
he's a different version of that kind of that belief.
Well, I mean, they're different people. I mean, so it's
so it'd be a completely different person.
It's completely But I guess my point is that okay, and I always bring this back up whenever you talk about mythology and stuff like that. But Fables, the comic book, okay, Fables goes into a lot of this shit already and has for years and years and years. They just finished up maybe a year or two ago, and it's been running since like early 2000s. And they've dealt with a lot of this stuff. It's a lot of the same premises, actually. And one of them is, obviously that the more belief somebody has, the more power they have. So Jack in the Fables comic is Jack Be Nimble, Jack and Jill, Jack and the Beanstalk. He's all the same Jack. He's just combined into one. And what he does is he releases a movie. He takes over a movie studio and releases a movie about Jack. So people start believing and liking Jack again, and he becomes uber powerful. So it's kind of like the same belief. Like, if the more people that believe in you, the stronger you are. But here's the thing: if Jack were to be killed in Fables, the world would still need a Jack figure, sort of a curious whatever. So he would be eventually replaced. Now, the personality of Jack in that role, that person that plays him will be gone. But somebody else will fill the role of the curious young lad who, climbs beanstalks and jumps over shit and rolls down hills, that kind of thing. So it's interesting because I felt like in this, it's got some of the same belief systems, like where the more people believe in you, the more powerful you are. Mm-hmm. But why, like if you kill somebody, there isn't anything that takes over. So my question is, why not? Why doesn't technology, all these guys just outright kill all these gods? Just genocide the rest of the fucking gods. They're not useful, right? They're not, nobody, like very few people believe in them. But my belief is that because these gods have been around for so long, that they know each other, and it's sort of the devil you know. You know what I mean? Instead of like killing somebody and having some other manifestation of that god appear in somebody else, or
you know what you're dealing with, right?
You know what you're dealing with, and that's the only thing that makes sense to me when it comes to why the fuck do they not just kill them?
It sounds like Mr. World's trying to just manage the situation rather than have it escalate into a full-blown war, where Wednesday obviously wants to, war and take over, but
why not? I mean, status quo is good for him. Yeah. Status quo is good for the technology dude, right? Like he likes the way things are. So, but not killing them. Yeah, I'm not sure either.
That's what I'm saying. I've always wondered why don't they just kill him? They let him out so often. Like, they have him dead to rights in the police station. They could have just killed him there. Like, why not?
Because if they kill him, that starts the war. They don't want the war. They want the status quo. They want the old gods to just accept their fate as being old gods, and that's all they will ever be.
I mean, they could accelerate the whole allegiance of old gods if they kill one of them outright.
Well, I mean, they killed Shadow Moon, or they tried to. One of them did, but then he gets reprimanded.
Shadow Moon's
just a person.
Yeah, he's not a god. I mean, he's not a god that he's not an old god, right? And we don't even know if he's actually a new god or a god at all, right?
But my question is, why were they mad that he tried to kill him? Like, why was Mr. World and whatever her name is, the TV chick, like, why were they mad at the technology?
Because it offended Odin. That's why. They weren't trying to offend him. I got that aspect. Odin? I got that, but
that's what I'm saying. Like, why are they worried about it?
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't know why they don't just wreck Odin now and do it. I don't know why they're holding back. I understand why they made him apologize, because if their intention is not to kill Odin, not to have a war, then they want to keep peace. So they were upset that the kid tried to kill Shadow, Odin's guy. You know what I mean? So that's bad. Don't do that. But again, I don't know. I'm with you. I don't know why they just don't go, you know what? We're gonna kill y'all anyway. I don't know. Maybe they don't have as much power as they think they do.
Well, they talk a little bit about just respecting him, right? Because of of
because
what
he's so ancient. Yeah.
or what he's accomplished in the past, right? I mean, he lectures the kid about just respecting him, like kind of respecting your elders or respecting the people that kind of paved the way for you, type of thing.
Yeah.
And that could be the reason, but I still feel like
I don't know.
It's more they just don't want to shake the boat, just to rock the boat. Because clearly Odin's taking that route, even when he went to the spring god, the spring woman, and said that Vulcan was killed by them, right? They killed Vulcan with this, with the sword, and that was an interesting scene too. When he was telling her that, and Shadow was standing there listening to that, and I actually thought that Shadow was going to call him out at that moment, but he didn't. He ended up just going along with that story.
He's his man's.
Yeah, so that was. I mean, he was
think there's
doubtful.
more to it.
Yeah,
I think they either need the old gods for some reason or something. I think there's a reason why they can't just slaughter them. Otherwise, I see no reason why they wouldn't.
Yeah, that's why I was digging. That's why I'm like, what do you guys think when it comes to this? Because my theory is that if you kill any of these gods, yeah, you can kill them, but the universe will still need an Odin, and that will be replaced by something or someone. So again, the devil as opposed to the devil you don't. Is that the new manifestation of Odin might be more war driven, and might cause more shit, or who knows. But that's the only thing
saying. Like they're born from worship. Like they just appear out of nothing, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's where they came from.
100 years ago, Tech Boy didn't exist.
Exactly.
Now technology is a big part of the world, and
Mr. World is telecommunications, right? Is that what he is?
I think he's just the interconnectivity of people in general. I'm not entirely sure what.
Really? I thought he was more like internet. I mean, basically,
he's the internet.
Yeah.
He can't be the internet. He's older than the kid. The kid is digital.
Yeah.
He's got to be older than that.
Tech Boy is like phones and internet, and the media is obviously television and radio.
Of course, yeah. Got to be like telecommunication. I'm thinking he's old, like in the sense of, no,
he's globalization. Yeah, it's like the
What was the thing that in the Wild West when they used the telegrams? Yeah.
Like the Morse code, like a stop.
Yeah. I think he dates back to that, to telegrams and such. You know what I mean? Like I think
globalization was probably
like telecommunications.
Yeah, like globalization is probably the best word.
Such abstract gods.
Well, it's funny because if you think about it, I mean, for thousands of years, I mean, depending on what you believe, but what I believe in, for thousands of years, cultures didn't really intermingle much, and when they did, it was war. So now today,
no one knew China and Japan existed for fucking centuries until
I know. So like
making boats and going across the water and stuff.
In the last 100 years, it's hard for us to comprehend just how different the world is in the last 100 years, because this is all we've known.
Yeah,
right. A lot of us. I'm 31. Like this is all we've known. But if I was born 30 years prior to that, I would have a very different outlook on what today is and all that stuff. Now, 100 years ago, we were still, dude, like 100 years ago is with the First World War, pretty much. Like we were just getting into that
figured out how to make cars and shit.
I mean, that's crazy. So this is like the first time in the history of mankind that we've been able to, for the most part, and there's still wars and bullshit and whatever, for the most part, all kind of get along. You can travel pretty much across the world. I mean, I went to Berlin and France just a couple, to France and Sweden, and there was no problem, But a couple hundred years ago, you might have some issues,
Dude, like even though it's like banged into you daily by the news, like news sources and stuff like that, we are technically living in the safest time humanity has ever lived in history of our species.
Oh yeah, and people are like, people are dying sooner. People are dying sooner. You're gonna die, cancer and all that stuff. Well, you know what? 100 years ago, people used to live to 40. We've doubled our lifespan. We're living in a time where we have double the lifespan of every other person that's pretty much come before us. Like, how fucking insane is that? Talk about medical advances, So when you have the character of Mr. World, when I hear globalization, I think he is the god sort of that interconnectivity of the different countries that now we can actually travel and yes, it's not perfect, but for the most part, we are we are as united a world as we've ever been. For the most part. Actually, not even for the most part. We're the most united we've ever been as a world, even with the problems. So that's how I feel he's kind of the manifestation of that. But that's just my interpretation.
Great.
Sex. Yeah, let's just throw out another word because it got real quiet and it got real deep. But that's what I like about the show is there's a lot of underlying messages, obviously, in all of this, and it's one of the few works of fiction that is actually trying to bring in old school gods and mythology into a new school setting and create a story out of it, which I respect.
Yeah.
Makes you want to like go and like read a book about these gods.
Yeah, exactly. I look
and that's why I love Fables.
To a new god. I can't wait.
Yeah. I took a class in high school, Egyptian mythology. So when the Anubis first shows up and that woman falls off the stool, I was like, immediately I knew who it was. And I was like, that's so cool. And like the thing with where he has to take her heart out and weigh it against the feather. I was like, that's fucking awesome. That's so cool. Like, I love that. And then the fact that his manifestation on Earth is a fucking mortician that cleans up bodies. Like, that's so like perfect,
in the book, do they go into details about the gods, or do they present it like the show where it's just like you just need to figure it out?
Aside from like the stuff that Anubis's brother or cohort is writing about, like the history of like Vikings and black slaves and everything, it's pretty much all from Shadow's point of view. Okay. So you get the information when he gets the information, essentially.
Okay.
It's a convoluted show, man. And that's why at the beginning of the show that I said I think that the normal average viewer is going to have a hard time digesting this.
Yeah.
And I mean, even as a person who, like I said, I'm no scholar, but I love mythology and stuff like that. And Fables actually opened my eyes to a whole world of myths and legends and poems and all sorts of shit that I never knew about. This is doing sort of the same thing, which I love. But the average person is probably going to watch this and go like, what the fuck?
Exactly.
She absorbed some guy in her vagina. This is weird. There's a gay sex
I remember when,
scene
like, I remember when Kareem, when the first episode aired, I was like watching Twitter because I knew when people got to that part, they would tweet out, and sure enough, Kareem was like, did that woman just suck a man in her vagina?
Yeah, I remember that.
I love how they do it too. It's like one of those cam mirror
You don't
tricks,
notice it's
right?
happening
It's
until
like,
she starts getting bigger, and like you're like, "What? Wait a second!
I
Like
know,
he's
but it's
getting tinier. What is happening here?
I mean,
like-
there's
it's
ways
like-
to go, you know?
What are you doing to
Exactly.
Bill Murray's brothers? Stop it!
It just
The national treasure."
I just like how they did it, right? Because like they're totally having sex. She's like riding him, and then he's like shrinking. Like you're in one of those.
It was really
those
subtle
little
until
mirror
it wasn't
tricks,
subtle.
right?
That's what
Where
I
you're
liked about
standing
it.
there and you're shrinking as you're walking, like in one of those like children museums and shit.
Oh,
You're getting
yeah,
smaller
yeah,
and smaller and smaller. The dude's just getting smaller. Stuff. Yeah, like what happens, guys, when you're getting sucked into a vagina?
Well,
by then he's too hypnotized to care. He's
And who cares?
He's locked in.
Yeah.
He's locked into his
moment of my life.
It's
Yeah.
great.
I'm having so
What a way to
into
go,
it.
though, right? Like,
It's
I
funny
guess
because
so.
it's funny because it's almost if this is a little bit reaching, but this is kind of how I felt about it when I first saw it. It's almost like sex is different in this day and age. Like how am I going to say this? Think about, okay, so we just talked about 100 years, how everything was different, everything. Sex is very much a changed beast as it is also.
Mhm.
Like you did not have the same kind of sexual freedom. Well, depending on where you're at, same kind of sexual freedom, the access to sex, all these different sort of fetishes. I mean, we've got them cataloged now on hundreds and thousands of websites, right? So back in the day, it's like the crazy cool thing to do would be to have orgies now. Now we got guys that are like, glurp, 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 deep throating till they're blasting in a girl's eye, that kind of shit. So, and there's also a bunch of fetishes that come with that. And one of those fetishes is like, like giant woman fetish or being consumed fetish.
true, yeah.
Or like, stuff like that. So she's an Egyptian goddess and she's no longer, worshipped as she did, but she's a very sexual goddess. And in this day and age, sexuality is different. What may turn on somebody isn't necessarily what turns on people back in the Egyptian days, right? So it used to be just, hey, regular
I
sex
think
is
she's
great.
a South American god. She's not
South
Egyptian.
American. Okay.
Yeah.
But either way, I thought she was Egyptian. My bad.
No, it's
Either
like
way.
Aztec, I think.
Okay, Aztec. Okay, that makes more sense. But either way, the thing is that like I think what that is it's a representation of the fetishism that is in America today when she has sex with these men and consumes them into her vagina. Like I don't remember seeing a scene where she consume them back in the Aztec times too.
Yeah,
Well,
well,
it's not that whole
she may have,
black
actually.
thing. It's not that whole black, whatever.
Never mind, no,
gooky
she's
stuff.
Ethiopian. My bad.
Ethiopian.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
she would like do a buffet of it.
Yeah, exactly. She would take in this entire orgy into her.
Okay, well maybe it isn't then. But when I first saw like that first scene, I thought, okay, this is like some sort of comment on the fetishism sex of today and how it's changed. You know, like it's no longer just me and you and a vagina and a dick. You know, now it's got to be get inside of my vagina. I want to be in a vagina where I'm moving like this and you're coming.
Get in there, God.
I don't know. Maybe I was the only one that felt that way. But anyways, that's what I saw whenever I watched it for the first time was like, okay, yeah, this is the representation of fetishism and sexuality.
Or it's like reverse birth, right? Which was they mentioned something about
That's
birth.
another thing too.
They did talk about like just the just females, right? Or just the act of sex or whatever. It's all about birth, and I didn't exactly catch like what they were alluding to there, but I do feel like there is something to do with just just the opposite of the anti-birth, basically. I don't know. It's just definitely an interesting thing to portray in this whole thing.
What we saw was the secret ending to Benjamin Button.
Yeah,
the only thing that could have made it better if it was a giant baby man.
That is Benjamin Button's death.
Baby man.
That is his death scene, really.
The giant baby man that gets sucked back up into a vagina. That's the end of Benjamin Button. Man, we really derailed.
Yeah, we either derailed or we really went deep there, man.
We went real deep. We got inside of it.
All deep.
We got whole body deep.
Yeah. Well, should we?
It was a weird thing.
Yeah, should we talk about next week? Because Nick, I think you have to go pretty soon.
Well,
right?
the tattoo artist texted me saying he's going to be an hour late. So
okay. So we got some time.
Oh,
yeah,
sweet.
So,
okay, yeah.
Anybody else have? We could take some callers. Monkey's in the general voice channel right now on our Discord.
Forget to say that like right off the bat.
Because he said Monkey did say that he was gonna.
I see him in there right now, so I'm just
okay. I guess he's here then. He said he wouldn't be here till 2. But,
yeah, if you guys want to join in or have some questions for us or want to add something to the American Gods discussion, go ahead and get on this Discord. Talk to Monkey Overlord. He will give you the directions or the just help with setting up mics and everything, and then he'll let me know whenever somebody's ready to hop on. So it'd be great to have you guys. It's always a lot of fun to get y'all's opinions on things.
We haven't really talked about the look of the show.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to get in kind of.
It's probably one of the most visually arresting shows on TV, and like it helps that the director David Slade, who did the first episode, also did the first episode of Hannibal, which is Brian Fuller's last show that he created or showrun. And they set up a really unique visual style for that show, and it carried over to this one with lots of really dark color contrast, slow motion, like deep depth of focus and stuff. The blood and the gore is really overdone,
Yeah.
like that's and so it's one of the, and like the scenes with the rain, they use like a strobe light, so it looks like the rain's almost hanging in the air, which I think is a really fucking cool effect. But it's like my favorite part of the show is the way it looks. It just looks so good, like
it really loved
texture and everything.
Slow-mo.
Yeah,
slow-mo was like just to get you involved in like everything is like godlike in here. Everything's a godlike thing. This fly is godlike.
Well, the fight scene with Laura, when she rescues Shadow from being hanged or being hung or whatever.
Oh yeah,
that was a cool scene.
Yeah,
that was like 300 levels, just like just kicking people in the nuts and having their spine and their skulls just kind of like flying out of their bodies. That was freaking awesome. Yeah, but the style of it is really, really cool.
It's good to see Starz coming out with another good show. Like Stars, when you think of like good, like movie channel type stuff, you always think like HBO, Showtime, right?
Yeah.
Those are always the two that pop up first. And then like Cinemax, you always assume that has to do with porn because Skinemax, like that's the first thing you think of.
Yeah.
And then like Stars is like nobody even thinks of Stars. Like when you think about like movie channels, like Stars is usually down the list. But they came out with Spartacus, which I consider to be one of the greatest seasons of a show of all fucking time.
It was
Spartacus
great.
season 1 was fucking phenomenal. And it was a shame that Andy Whitmore, the main character, ended up getting cancer and dying. Well, one, because it's a fucking tragedy. There's a whole documentary on it. I've watched it. It's sad as fuck. And two, because we didn't get the continuation of Andy Whitmore's Spartacus on Starz. And they did the pre-show thing, which was really good too. But then season 2 is just so god awful, you can't do anything with it. So it's good to see that Starz, because it like showed Starz had chops, right? Like Starz has chops. They're okay with gore. They're okay with nudity. They're okay with doing whatever the fuck they need to do.
They have Ash versus Evil Dead too.
Didn't you ever watch Black Flag, Yellow?
See, now that's the thing. I've always heard Black Flag was really good, but I've never seen. Of course, you've seen Black Flag.
Of course,
biggest fan.
Yeah, no, I have heard really good things about Black Flag. To be fair, but Spartacus was the only thing that I've seen. So
me too. Spartacus.
I have heard good things about Black Flag. So maybe this is a third good show. But I'm just saying it's good to see more shit coming out from Starz.
It's a risky show, and that's it.
Yeah,
and it paid off too.
Yeah.
Like I consider it like an app seller. Like if you were thinking about subscribing to the Starz app, like this is the show that will fucking get you to pay that subscription fee. I feel
right.
like
HBO's getting ready for this Sunday, right?
I know. You better get it in before
it's
this.
Time now.
Exactly. So we do have a question for Space Turtle. We can answer a little bit, but do you think that Matt Sweeney as Leprechaun is the secret star of the show? I don't think it's a secret. I think he's just
he's definitely
he's a scene stealer for sure.
He's a scene stealer, yeah. Like you want to hear everything that comes out of his mouth. You want to listen to. Like he's really what do you call it?
Star is
he's a good
Shadow and Odin by far, but Matt Sweeney is
talk about Ricky. What's the guy that plays Shadow? I've never seen him in anything before, but
he's been in the 100. I've seen him in the 100. He was in a few seasons of the 100.
He looks like Vin Diesel's little brother.
He does.
Or something. Yeah.
Like he's far more attractive little brother. Like far and away more.
Dude, some people love that Vin Diesel, man. So
like the Vin Diesel, bro. What's going on?
Vin Diesel looks like he's been to prison 6 times. Okay,
that's his appeal.
That's his appeal. Kind of has.
Yeah, exactly.
He's triple X dog.
I know.
Okay.
Shadow Moon he looks like he's never been touched by anyone in the face. Like he's just like perfect looking.
I don't know. I don't see pretty boy. I
He's
see
an
like
attractive
a little,
man, though. Yes, he is.
I see some prison toughness in that face. You know, like
they put him in prison in the beginning. So
I know. You know, you kind of have to.
Had to be cast.
No, I think that.
Oh yeah, I mean, I could spoil something for you guys if you want me to. That they didn't. It's not like a huge spoiler, but there is like they sprinkle in gods here and there that you don't notice. The dude he's in prison with, that's super mousy guy.
Oh
that's like
yeah,
all over the place,
yeah.
That's Loki. That's
oh,
Loki.
is it? Oh,
yeah.
I didn't realize I was Loki. Okay.
Really?
Just notice how he's always talking about fucking like mischievous shit. Like that's. It's no wonder he's in prison. He's fucking Loki, dude.
It's hard for me to just not see Tom Middleton now. When you say Loki now, I just always envision him. It's so hard for me. So it looks so real quick. Anarchy in chat says, could you let them know that Bilquis is the queen of Sheba from Yemen?
Mecha Shiva.
I
had to.
When I hear Shiva, I think Final Fantasy.
Wait, it's Sheba, not Shiva.
Yeah,
Shiva.
Solomon's wife, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Like from Israeli lore, it's like Solomon's wife was the queen of Sheba, right? She's also weird.
I don't. Who that's supposed to be? Who now?
That's the lady,
the vagina woman,
the vagina
the
lady,
woman.
yeah,
the vagina woman. Because we were saying it's just South American or Ethiopian. You know, we were trying to figure it out.
I know she's attached to Israeli lore or something. You know, about like one of. I don't remember. Like if you look her up on Wikipedia, she's linked to that character as well.
I'm looking at man.
I'm looking
at man.
While you look it up, Deridium has a question for Addiction. Is there any favorite place in the book you're hoping they'll bring to the show?
Oh, well, I know for a fact they're doing it. They got the season was cut off budget wise, so that's why it's only 8 episodes. It's supposed to end with it. Well, it ends with the big sign for what's the place called? The it's like a carnival, or it's the house on the rock, the house on the cliff or something.
Oh yeah, that's where the gin is, right, or whatever. Yeah.
Yes, and like in the book that happens a lot sooner. They go there. That's where they have their first big meeting, and it's essentially a portal into the afterlife, or like the in between space for the afterlife, where the gods can go and have secret meetings. Where they're not like other gods on Earth can't detect them, essentially. And it's fucking in the book. It's just the way they describe it is fucking insane. Like it's supposed to be this tourist attraction, but it's actually like a fucking mecca for gods to go and like do
it's
their
like
business.
Coney Island for the gods.
Yeah, but it's like it's this crazy like fun house of weird shit. That's
okay.
It's got all these artifacts from the beginning of America and stuff, and like over time, and it's really cool. They're definitely gonna do it in season 2, and I'm excited for that.
+1 points for Burke. Yeah, King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba.
Nice,
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah, you were right. It's according to Wikipedia, it is the Jewish, Islamic, and Ethiopian queen Sheba, and it's been told and widespread through the Orient. So yeah, that's pretty much that's her. We figured it out.
We
figured it. I don't know who she is. I just know she absorbs men in her vagina. That's all I know.
She likes orgies and she likes sex.
What was the last question you just read out?
It was more for diction about. Is there any favorite place in the book
I literally just talked about that for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Jesus, hello. Pay attention.
Well, I didn't know if it was a question.
He was looking up stuff.
Or something.
He was looking up stuff.
Yeah, I was looking stuff up. So, damn, man, I'm the research guy. Like, I'm the Donatello of this group right now. Okay. Anyhow, do we have any other callers or questions? Or anything?
No callers. We've been getting questions in Twitch chat, but yeah, nothing right now.
worries.
So maybe any last points or any last thoughts on the show?
Can't wait for season 2,
Yeah,
baby.
I mean, we have to wait a year for these things, man. It sucks.
Yeah, I know. It sucks.
Totally sucks.
Whatever.
It makes it worse that like these shows you can watch them and binge them over a weekend instead of like
They're so short.
spacing it out over like 6 months or something,
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I only have to wait 6 months for season 2. Now it's like, oh, we got to wait a fucking year and a half. Great.
What happened to the 22?
Give these guys 365 days jobs, man. Just like make
Oh,
these
the
series.
22 episode thing was before the writer's strike in 2014, I believe.
Yeah.
And when that happened, then they made a deal so they could cut down the episodes so they'd get paid what they should be getting paid for the amount of work they're doing.
Yeah. Well,
The secret.
I can't
about
imagine
show-
having to watch 22 episodes of every single thing we talk
Dude,
about.
the first like
Yeah,
seasons of
that's
Lost are 24 episodes. It's insane. I watched that before Netflix had online, so I'd have to rent 3 DVDs at a time, and so I'd like watch 3 DVDs and be like, "Fuck, I gotta wait a couple days until I can see the rest." Like, this sucks, man.
Well, definitely, I definitely think that the shorter seasons are better because I've noticed that like they tell more story and there's less bull crap in between.
Yeah, there's
you know what
less
I mean?
downtime and
it's rushed,
less
though.
filler.
they trim the
There's a
fat.
lot-
They trim the fat.
I think 8 episodes is too short. Like
Yeah,
I think
8
a
is
good
definitely-
season is about
They were supposed to
14.
get like 13
or
10
14.
for this. Yeah, I think next season they ordered 10 episodes, so it's gonna be longer.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I believe it depends entirely on the content. If you've got a teen drama movie in high school, you can probably sum up whatever you want to sum up in 8 episodes. But when you have like gods from different mythological backgrounds coming together in America with an elaborate, like some really deep down, George R.R. Martin kind of shit. I think that that warrants more episodes. I think 8 was way too short.
Yeah,
There's a lot they can work with, and they're pretty much only like
Yeah.
and a
less than
show
halfway
like
through the book.
a show like Blacklist also, they do 22 episodes on Blacklist, and it doesn't, there's too much downtime. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it seems like that would be a great show for like
Blacklist is
Starz.
like a procedural, right? Where every episode's like a new case or whatever, kind of like CSI.
Yeah, but they drag stuff out for like
Exactly.
for a ridiculous amount of time. Like, you literally get the beginning of the season is like, oh my gosh, and then you have the middle part, which is like, okay, when are we gonna get back to the cool part at the beginning of the season?
Blacklist?
And then at the end, it's like, oh, we're back to that now. Yeah, Blacklist. You know what?
Yeah, I gave up on that show. I gave up on that
It's
show
after the
they dragged
first
it out so bad.
After the first season, man, that show.
I can't do
took a dive.
procedurals anymore, man. I need an overarching story. I can't just handle like every episode's a new case. Okay, guys, like I can do it with It's Always Sunny, where every episode's a new fucking adventure for the gang. Like that's cool because it's short and funny. But like when it comes to like Criminal Minds and CSI and even Law and Order, like I just can't do it, man.
Yeah, but Blacklist is different from those.
Yeah, it
shows.
is Black. It's not really a cop show like in the typical sense. It's like it's almost like Bond villains. You know what I mean? Like going after one Bond villain after another, and that's what.
It's got an overall. It's got an overall story.
I gotta know what Red is, who he is. Oh my gosh, I gotta know. So I'm ingrained at this point.
It's like
the thing is, the trick with show watching,
man. Yeah.
The trick with show watching is if you watch enough shows, by the time one is done, another one of your shows will pop up. So you're never really quite waiting a year for a show because you got shit to watch in between. And there's so much shit I've watched recently that I want to do for this show. And I think it's probably a good time now to reveal the show we're going to do next week. But I will tell you some other stuff that you guys should probably get involved in and watch if you haven't already. I think that's all I really have to say about American Gods.
Yeah,
really.
It's a good show.
There's a lot to talk about, but there's a lot that I'm reserved on because I want to see what happens in season 2. I want to see where things kind of go.
Agreed.
It's a lot of theory crafting and stuff like that, and I've shared a few of those with you guys. But
so there's one last question that we'll end on. Anarchy actually he I think directs it maybe for all of us. What gods do you want to see in season 2?
Oh wow!
I think personally,
like if I could just pick.
I mean, it's supposed to be American gods, right? It's supposed to be religions and gods that were brought to America, right?
Yeah.
I want to see Aphrodite.
But that's pretty much everything, right? I mean, America is it's a melting pot of all kinds of cultures.
Like I want to see some like Japanese.
Yeah, I want to see an Asian god. I was going to say
that.
that.
Would be really cool.
Like Jade Emperor.
Of course,
or something
Chan.
like that.
Of course,
Jade Emperor.
Like
monkey.
I want to see
the
like
Monkey
an Oni
King
demon. Wouldn't that be fucked up to see an Oni demon like following someone around who's cursed and shit?
Oh, an
That'd be
Oni
fucking
demon? Okay, that'd be cool too. Yeah.
Well, Ifritis are, India? Like there's definitely you can make a case for about any god or deity or even powerful being in this show just because, like you said, it's a melting pot. I don't know who I would want to see precisely if they've already got kind of. I always like sort of the trickster god, like the anti-hero gods. I think that role is pretty filled by Odin right now.
Oh, what about Buddha? Oh my God, Buddha. They should just have like a throwaway scene where him and Jesus are at a diner having a conversation or something.
Well, I mean,
what's the god's name with the 6 arms? The Hindu god with the 6 arms,
Shiva.
the destroyer of worlds.
Shiva.
That's Shiva.
Shiva.
Oh, is Shiva in it?
No.
No,
She's not in it,
that's
but
a
that's
different
the
one.
god
Yeah,
you're
that's
talking
Shiva.
about. is
Yeah, you're
Shiva.
talking about Shiva.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, I'd like to see her in this show. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
I mean, there may be more gods with multiple arms in the. To be fair, I don't know, but Shiva comes to mind for sure.
Well, everything's going to be in context of war here, right? So there's definitely
Not necessarily.
Okay.
Like the leprechaun it doesn't necessarily reflect war at all. Like it's
But he's being brought in.
He's a trickster demigod, right? Like he's.
I'm trying to even think what Greek
tricks
god. What other Greek?
But Ares, of course, would be a great war god.
Ares
Yeah,
would be
that's
interesting.
That's kind of obvious, though. Like
It is a
I
little
feel
obvious,
like-
but
I feel like I want to see more mythological beings that aren't necessarily gods. Like a leprechaun isn't necessarily a god. He's from the realm of the fae, right? So there's also, genies like we talked
fairies
about.
and
Not
stuff.
necessarily gods, they're deities or they're powerful creatures, magical creatures. So, you could have shit like unicorns or even Bigfoot if you really wanted to. So I kind of want to see not less gods. I'm fine with the gods that they have. I want to see more just creatures of lore in general that aren't necessarily
centaurs.
Yeah, like have like a guy who goes around in human form, but is the Minotaur or like I said, a unicorn or a centaur, some other shit. Just whatever pops up. Hell, I would like to see some shit from like American lore, like pop up,
Native
like
American
shit. Like I said,
Native
or like Native American, yeah. or like I said, like Bigfoot is as
The
an
abominable
example, right?
snowman.
The abominable
Loch Ness
snowman, you know,
monster.
yeah, shit like that. Yeah,
Hey,
why
they
not?
could bring in they could
I
bring in
mean-
the great blue sky from Mongolian.
Chupacabras.
I want them to go
Chupacabra,
to-
yeah, man.
I want them to go to like New Orleans and get
Some
into some
fucking
fucking
dog.
Asian voodoo shit. That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Vampires. I mean, you can
Oh,
really
yeah,
just kind of go.
vampires
You can
can
run
be-
the gauntlet
That's
with
true,
shit.
that's
you know?
true.
You
Yeah, you
really
could do.
can.
They might end
speak-
up getting down to that,
Oh.
though. Yep.
Yeah. Anyways. But
All right. Well, let's talk about next week. So next week, for those of you, again, maybe tuning in for the first time, what we do is at the end of the show, we give you guys homework, which is what we're going to do next week so that you guys can prepare and be ready for our discussion next week and maybe even join us next week. So next week, we are going to be doing the Netflix TV series or show or whatever, Glow, Gorgeous Ladies of Wrestling.
It's so good.
I
Have
haven't
you
seen
seen
it.
it? Dang it,
Okay.
man.
Yeah.
I saw it too. I watched it.
I
too.
saw
I
it and I
need to
watched the
watch it.
documentary about the real women on Netflix. as
I've
well.
seen a documentary on the real women before, but I haven't seen the show though. Is it close to
have-
that, or is it just more the show? Is the show more of
The
a
show's a lot
drama.
more dramatic and like
Okay.
they fudge a lot of the details, but it's honestly in service of a good story, so it works.
Okay, that's cool.
I,
Also, you get to see Mark Maron's ass, his bare ass, which is just a treat.
That's
Just a real
not
treat there.
necessarily.
Why is
highlight
that
for
the
me.
thing you go
That's
for?
not the
Allison
highlight for
Brie
me.
Because
is
I
topless.
love Mark Maron. You ever listen to his podcast? He's hilarious.
But Allison Brie is finally topless in something. Like that's
Is
the
she
big
really?
story.
Dude, she's
Wow.
been topless in
Yes.
like 5 movies before.
No, she has not.
Yes, she
no,
has.
It's always no, she has not.
What
It's always
movie?
been
She-
a double.
Dude, do you really want to go down this road with me? Because
Yes,
I
do,
always
because
win.
I want to because at the end, if I'm right, then I win, and if you're right, then I
Dude,
win.
Adam slow-mo's
Well,
Adam
I-
slow-mo's
I-
this
I-
shit. He slow-mo's this shit to make sure it's the double.
Hold on. It's
It was a
called,
double. It's a double. It was like a horror movie or whatever.
I
and
can't
it's a
believe
double.
we're arguing about Allison Brie's boobies.
No,
right
that's
now.
all. Listen, I have strong
Seriously,
opinions.
this is-
Listen,
is
next
important
week there's
stuff,
going to be a
man.
lot of
This
talk
is
about
crazy.
Allison Bree's breasts because I have opinions. I actually shared them on my
Which one
stream.
is the cover up? I think it's the cover up. Maybe no.
Yeah, but she's only in lingerie in that.
no. There's one.
We
where
have
she's-
connoisseur
I mean, I
level
could-
here, man.
No,
I'm
it's
telling you,
called
I'm a big
Born.
Allison Brie boob
Dude,
fan.
he's
Like I'm a
rewind
Yeah,
and rewind.
It's
It's
called
like
Born. It's the one where she's pregnant.
yes, exactly. Yeah, it's a double. It's a body double that for those scenes. Like you never see her tits. It's always body double stuff. I'm
Now
telling
you
you.
got me googling Allison Brie nude, and I feel fucking.
You shouldn't because I have it. I'm on a list somewhere.
Dude,
I've done it so much.
man. I'm on a list.
I'm on a list somewhere. I've Googled her tits so much. I mean,
Oh
Allison
my
Brie in Community is
God.
gorgeous. And then in Mad Men, I mean, it's like, how can they? The reason Mad Men didn't work for me, spoiler alert, is because her husband is always not paying attention to her. You know, Peter or whatever the fuck
Right.
his name is.
Yeah,
and that's
yeah.
like,
ridiculous. It's really
that she would
ridiculous.
that he would go for the ugly intern chick in the office
That's true.
and not stay with Allison Brie, his fucking wife. Like that makes no sense to me at
That's
all.
true.
Peter Kenner, I think his name is. You idiot, you fool. Go home and fuck your wife. Diction, where you at, man?
Where are you at?
Dude, I swear she was nude in a fucking horror.
I swear she
horror movie,
is.
dude.
This is
Nobody
this
knows
is
Allison Brie's tits
this
like
is
I do.
Elo.
Nobody.
This is a typical Elo obsession, dude. I'm gonna have to go with
Yeah.
Elo on this one, man. This is
Well,
this is
anyways,
great.
I have opinions about it. We'll talk
Yeah.
about it.
So
next
gorgeous
week.
ladies of
Also, wait,
wrestling.
fun fact,
yeah.
Fun fact: the woman that was Dane Cook's wife in American Gods, the one who was like drunk trying to fuck Chad.
Oh yeah.
She's
good
in.
too.
She's in Glow. Yeah, she's in
Oh,
Glow.
she's in Glow too. Okay, yeah, she
She's
was
really good.
too.
Yeah,
she was
she's
good.
talented.
And by the way, just in case you guys, are starving for things to watch because it's kind of a weird time right now. I feel like
A
things have
lot
come
of
out,
stuff.
but now things are starting to slow down. Like
Oh
again,
really? Okay.
I feel like things are starting to slow down again. Well, Game of Thrones is coming out this
Until
week.
Game of Thrones. Yeah.
Yeah. Castlevania on Netflix.
Oh
It was
yeah.
good.
It's
It was
4
good,
episodes,
yeah.
which I feel like is so short.
Really?
You guys are talking,
Extremely short.
but
I
it's
mean,
so good. It's so
What
good.
is?
Yeah, it's animated.
Oh, it's animated.
Castlevania. Yeah, Castlevania. Also, Okja
Ooh,
on Netflix.
yeah, it was so good.
Is a very, very straight. In fact, I wanted to do it for the show
Okja.
so bad.
What's it?
It's,
What's it about?
it's a Bong Joon-ho movie. The guy that did The Host and Snowpiercer. He's never done a bad movie, and this one is particularly good. Yeah, it's about like this corporation that makes meat products, and they create a genetically modified pig called a super pig, which is like the size of a hippopotamus. And then it flash forward like 10 years. It's about this little Korean girl who lives like on a mountain with her grandfather, and they were given one of these pigs to raise to the point where they're big enough where they can start like basically grinding them up and selling them as meat products.
Like
And they take Okja away from her, and she goes on this adventure to get him back. She gets in with these animal rights terrorists and stuff. It's really good. It's really funny and weird. It's got incredible action sequences.
It's a super pig. It's a genetically modified.
I know, but
pig that
Okja is a
looks like
pig in this.
Yeah, the title of the movie is
okay.
The name.
Yeah, Okja is the pig. Yes, yeah.
It's on Netflix too, so it's like, yeah, it's a good watch.
I'm not saying it's like the best movie in the world, but it was definitely fucking good, and it definitely is interesting. OKJA.
Okay.
Yeah, just like it sounds. Okja.
Oh my gosh.
Okja.
All right.
Yeah. So if you just had some things that you wanted to watch, I thought I'd throw them out there. Anyways.
All right. Well, why don't we wrap up?
Next week.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, next week our guest will be Spectrum Dominus. By the way, some of you guys may know who that is.
Okay.
He's a streamer. He does a lot of wrestling stuff, so we figured Glow would be a good time to bring him in. So, anyways, that was it. Sorry. Now we can do our outro.
All right. Why don't we do some shout outs? Burke, where can people find you, man?
You can find me on BurkeBlack, the pirate channel of Twitch, man. Where I'm at. or if you really want to, you can come to Indiana and we can eat some spaghetti together.
Spaghetti pizza.
Spaghetti pizza.
All right, cool. You can follow him on Twitter too, guys. Twitter.com/0 BurkeBlack0.
His things are like always like he's drunk. I love it. BurkeBlack, bitch. I'm a pirate. I'm on the internet.
Oh, man. I'm on the internet.
Like most guys are like, you can find me here. This is my Twitter.
Right.
This is my handle. He's like, I'm BurkeBlack. Come have spaghetti with me in Louisiana. It's like the crazy uncle. I love it.
Oh man, Diction. You want to do some shout outs?
I'm Eat My Addiction 1 on most social media and Twitch. I might IRL stream my tattoo today. I'm just gonna see if I get permission to do it. I don't know if they have, problem with that. And then later tonight, I'm gonna be on doing some GTA RP.
Oh, are you? What server are you playing on?
I'm whitelisted on RP First, True Los Santos, and Twitch RP. I don't know how to get on the family server, which is where everyone's playing now.
Cletus was talking to me about that.
Yeah, you can recommend, but like they're like in the transitional mode, so it's like, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to step on any toes or anything. I don't want to be like, hey, I'm a streamer. Let me in your server. You know, like.
It's always so weird with that group because it's like such a like a click kind of thing, you know. And it's like if you ain't,
they're pretty tight knit, like the Mr. Moon people. Yeah, Mr. Moon's cool though. I know he follows me. I know he's a.
Oh no, Mr. Moon's super cool. I've known him for a long time now. Him and Kiwo and all those guys back from DayZ, those days. Anyways,
hello.
I guess I'm next. Hi, I'm Ellohime. I'm the Viking streamer. This is on my channel. So this is my channel. You usually catch me live at like 4 a.m. in the morning when I can get up because God, it's been difficult lately, man. I don't know what it is. Like I go through these periods where it's like waking up at 4 a.m. is just like I wake up at 3:30 and my eyes just like. Anyways, but usually you'll find me at 4 a.m. Eastern time on this channel. It's got all my other links to Twitter and all that other fantastic stuff if you want to get involved with that. So ChanMan, tell us about yourself, man.
I'm the non-bearded streamer. No, you can find my stuff at everything that ends in ChanManV. So Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, all that good stuff. And I myself have been having trouble waking up too because of my stupid machine. And I've been playing Summoner's War like crazy lately.
Me too.
Really? You add me, dude.
Yeah.
Add me, ChanManV.
Yeah.
I've been
I
obsessed
did a sponsored
with it, man.
I was just telling Diction before we started. I was like, I'm obsessed with the mobile game. I was just telling like today. It's funny because I can't believe you didn't hear that. Yeah, we'll hook up afterwards.
Okay, yeah, I've been playing with my kids too, so it's been ridiculous. I'm like on the side, I'm just like auto battling like on the side while I'm doing.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Oh my god,
it's crazy. I did a sponsored stream for them, and everyone's like, "Really, Summoners?" I didn't like it then, and I got done with my sponsored stream. I was like, "Eh," and then I kept playing it.
I know.
$200.
I installed it after your recommendation, so it's like I'm just kind of like checking it out right now.
If you're wondering what it is, it's kind of like Pokemon mixed with Final Fantasy-ish battle, you know, that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
You can definitely try it out. But you can find the VODs for the show on YouTube, my YouTube channel, youtube.com/ChanManV, and you can find us on iTunes.
It's in my lap.
Too. He's been doing it the whole time.
He wasn't
Oh my
actually
God,
doing
you
any
must have run
research
out
on
of
gods.
Did you run out of energy or whatever?
playing
Oh my
soccer.
God. But anyways, you can find us on iTunes too. Search for Spoiler Alerts. Drop us a nice review or a 5-star review. That'll definitely help us with ranking up whenever people try to search for Spoiler Alert. But that's going to be it, guys, for this week. So for BurkeBlack, Diction, Ellohime, and myself, ChanManV, we'll see you next week.
Take it easy.
Later.